Number 10. Julia Hart misses a table. At AEW Rampage Grand Slam 2022, Julia Hart was at ringside supporting the House of Black in their no DQ tag team match against Sting and Darby Allin. The match itself was highly entertaining, spilling out around the arena with some huge bumps off the stage. However, as the match drew to a close, one bump didn't go according to plan. Buddy Matthews had Sting handcuffed in the ring, ready to hit him with his own bat. Out of nowhere, the lights dimmed, and out came the Great Muta, who would spray mist into Buddy Matthews' eyes, who would stumble into Julia Hart, who had jumped up onto the apron. This caused Julia to go flying off of the side of the ring and was meant to fall through a table set up on the outside. However, she overshot her landing and completely missed the majority of the table, having the back of her head hit the guardrail and concrete floor below. Luckily, Julia would turn out to be okay, but this nasty botch could have ended much worse. Number 9. Ruby Soho suffers consecutive botches. Heading into AEW All Out 2022, Ruby Soho was locked into a rivalry with Tay Mello. The pair would face off in an intergender tag team match on the All Out pre-show, featuring Tay and Sammy Guevara versus Ruby and Ortiz. This night turned out to be one of the roughest of Ruby's career, as she ended up being involved in 2 botches throughout the mixed tag team match. Firstly, we would see Ruby drop directly onto her head after it looked like Sammy Guevara failed to control Ruby's fall after Tay had kicked her off his shoulders. Luckily, Ruby was able to continue the match. However, in the closing moments, Tay would deliver a knee strike for the win, which would instantly break Ruby's nose. Ruby was immediately shown bleeding, and it became clear that the former Riot Squad leader was legitimately hurt at that moment, as she was assisted backstage holding her face in sheer pain. Number 8. Matt Sydal slips. Anytime a wrestler heads to the top rope, there's always an element of danger involved. Unfortunately for Matt Sydal, he would suffer this fate in a scary-looking botch during his AEW debut inside the Casino Battle Royale, whilst trying to perform his first ever move for the company. Not the most ideal way to make a debut, Sydal's music would hit as he would enter as a surprise entrant into the Battle Royale. Sydal instantly went to climb up to the top rope, looking to hit his signature shooting star press onto Powerhouse Hobbs. However, his foot ended up slipping on the top rope, and instead he had a nasty looking crash landing. Sydal would fall high onto his shoulders, nearly directly onto his neck. Although this bump looked very painful, thankfully Sydal was able to escape this without serious harm and continued the match. Number 7. Brit Baker's face is squashed. Brit Baker has had her fair share of injuries, but this botch in particular caused a pretty nasty one. Brit took part in a fatal 4-way match for the interim AEW Women's World Championship at AEW Dynamite Grand Slam 2022. All 4 women put on quite an entertaining match, but things took a turn for the worse when Brit Baker was involved in a spot featuring Athena. In an impressive display of strength, Athena had both Brit Baker and Serena Deeb on her shoulders, but as she went to perform a combined Samoa drop and fallaway slam, she would fall backwards directly onto Brit's face, breaking her nose instantly. Athena was seemingly supposed to land on a different part of Brit's body, but instead she ended up landing directly onto her face, crushing it underneath her body. This instantly led to Baker being busted open, and it led to a serious injury for her. Number 6. The chairman is introduced. Chair shots always bring an element of danger, especially when aimed at the head. That was exactly the case when Shawn Spears turned on Cody Rhodes at Fyter Fest in 2019, nailing him directly in the head with a steel chair. Before the spot took place, the chair itself was meant to be gimmicked, designed to be thinned out in order to avoid any serious damage upon impact. However, when Spears swung the chair at Cody's head, the wrong part of the chair connected with his skull, causing a deep gash to form, and blood began to pour instantly. Although this catapulted Shawn Spears' character within the promotion, this turned into a very dangerous botch that could have led to serious ramifications. Number 5. Nick Jackson's crash landing. A match that would end up breaking Dave Meltzer's 5-star rating scale, the Lucha Brothers taking on the Young Bucks in a tag team ladder match, was always going to feature some insane spots. The margin for error in this match was incredibly slim, and all 4 men held nothing back, putting everything on the line, with Nick Jackson almost finding that out the hard way when he took a nasty spill to the outside. As Nick had begun to scale a ladder placed inside the ring, Pentagon Jr. would intercept and push the ladder over, with the idea being that Nick would clear the ring and crash through the tables below on the outside. Instead, he ended up coming short, with his legs hitting the top rope, leading to an incredibly awkward landing, going head first through the table. Thankfully, Nick would be able to continue the match, but this one botch was inches away from an all-out disaster. Number 4. Lance Archer lands on his head. This botch will send shivers down your spine. During the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament first round match featuring the Murder Hawk Lance Archer against fan favourite Eddie Kingston, Archer would end up falling victim to one of the most dangerous and scariest botches seen to date. This match was pretty physical, as you'd expect, and it seemed that Archer had the upper hand. He went to scale the top rope and aimed to perform a moonsault onto Kingston. However, as Archer went to perform the move, he didn't get the necessary rotation in his leap, and Kingston had already rolled out of the way according to plan. It meant that the 44-year-old Murder Hawk landed directly onto his head on the mat, effectively pile-driving himself. The match was paused while officials checked on Archer, but he wanted to finish the match, and came back in so Eddie Kingston could do a quick roll-up pin for the win. Archer reportedly suffered a jammed neck as a result of the botch spot, and went onto Twitter to state how this unfortunate spot could have been much worse. Number 3. Matt Hardy eats a chair. One of AEW's most dangerous botches occurred during Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara's feud. On an August 5th, 2020 edition of AEW Dynamite, Matt Hardy was delivering a promo in the middle of the ring before Sammy Guevara snuck out from underneath the ring and attempted to jump Matt Hardy from behind. The pair would begin to brawl, spilling out to the ringside area. Hardy would try to set up a table, yet Guevara would throw fists and eventually a chair at Hardy, which struck him right between the eyes. This wasn't any normal steel folding chair though, but rather a heavy unfolded chair with the corner hitting Matt directly in the face. Matt Hardy wasn't able to get his hands up in time to protect himself and instantly began gushing blood as a deep cut had formed on his forehead. The pair would go on to finish the segment, with Guevara diving off the stage putting Matt through the table below, but the real damage came at the hands of Guevara viciously throwing the steel chair directly at Hardy's head. Number 2. Rey Fenix breaks. Another dangerous botch that would result in injury would occur in a freaky looking spot featuring Luchasaurus and Rey Fenix. The Jurassic Express faced off against the Lucha Brothers on an episode of AEW Dynamite on the 1st of May 2022. Both teams put on a great match as expected, however things would take a turn for the worse when a table had been set up on the outside of the ring. With Luchasaurus dazed on the apron, Rey Fenix would attempt to dive at Luchasaurus and knock him off the apron and through the table. However, Luchasaurus would reverse this attempt and catch Rey Fenix with a chokeslam, slamming him through the table below. However, upon landing, Fenix's arm would twist in a gruesome manner, bending completely backwards. It shows how important the landing for these kinds of spots is, because it was visibly wrong in this moment, and it is something that put the talented masked wrestler on the shelf for several months. But miraculously, Fenix would report that his arm in fact hadn't been broken, but rather badly hyperextended. Number 1. Matt Hardy misses the table. By far the most frightening botch to date, this incident occurred at the same show as Matt Sydal's botch listed earlier, although this was by far much worse. At All Out 2020, Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara looked to end their feud in a broken rules match, where basically there were no countouts, falls count anywhere and anything goes. The pair would put on a really entertaining match, battling throughout the stadium. However, as the pair would brawl onto a scissor lift, with the plan being that Guevara would spear Hardy off the lift into the tables below. However, things didn't go exactly according to plan, and while Matt's lower section did go through the tables, his head would completely miss and smash off the concrete floor. From such a height, it was a massively dangerous spot, and Matt Hardy was visibly shaken and out of sorts immediately, being unable to stand up, as his legs were acting like jelly. This was an uncomfortable watch for fans, who were left frustrated at the fact that the match was allowed to continue.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more wrestling content.